Come on.
Hey, y'all, it's...
Oh.
I'm doing your opening here.
Okay.
Hey, y'all, it's Nick and Eli with Alchemy Custom Weaponry.
Right.
I'm doing the opening right now, and I'm just tickled pink to be here with you, Eli, and talk about, what are we talking about?
Talking about sights.
We're talking about sights.
Sights you can see.
Sights, if you're, a Yank.
Right.
Or sights.
Yeah, I don't know how, I can't do their accent.
Just say sights.
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 Okay, perfect. We got that down. So there's multiple different sight options that we have for ACW, and we're going to start not in the front, we're going to start in the back.
In the rear.
In the rear, and I like to do that because our rear sight, the ACW ledge rear sight that comes standard on almost all of our pistols outside of the prime target, is a fantastic rear sight. It's a U-notch. I know some people are enamored with square notches for some reason, but squares, that's a thing. But this U-notch is very nice for target acquisition, for getting that front sight in there. It is a little bit wider of a spacing, so you're still going to have some light on either side of that front sight in your sight picture to really be able to acquire that quickly and get that sight centered in there. It's a nice tactical ledge, so you can...
It's a defensive rear sight.
It's a defensive rear sight, exactly. I mean, these pistols are really set up at like 15 yards, so that's going to be your point of aim, point of impact. And but I like this rear sight, this tactical ledge, in case you want to rack it off a table, or if you're in Chicago and you get carjacked, which
happens.
That happens in Chicago.
If you have a Dodge Challenger Hellcat,
oh, you got a Hellcat in Chicago,
you're getting
gone.
yeah,
you
it's
carjacked,
happening.
You have to have an ACW, and you need to have the ACW ledge rear sight to rack it off like your boot, because you're gonna have to shoot your way out of that situation for sure. Sorry if you live in Chicago. Not because we're making fun of you, but because you
live in Chicago.
So the ledge rear sight is awesome. What do we have over there on the prime target?
Really super classic rear sight. This is a Ken sight, but it is a Bomar adjustable rear sight. Bomar style adjustable rear sight. You can adjust it for windage and elevation.
Elevation, the up and downness.
The up and downness of it.
And the nice thing is, if you want a square notch, guess what? That's a square notch.
This is a square notch. A few things to keep in mind. This is an extremely old school rear sight. If you're going for a really like late 70s, 80s gun, this is kind of a good rear sight to go with.
Yep.
The other thing I want to note is it's not what we call a buried.
Not buried.
It's not buried. It's at the end of the slide, which is very nice and looks very nice. You can see the serrations on the back of the sight. So this is a great option, and it does come standard on the prime target.
Prime target, yes, but you can option it on any of the full size
5-inch guns.
Not the commander length
no
slide.
commanders.
Now, one thing to notice too is the Bomars are shipped in the full down position because it is spring loaded. So when you get that gun, it's going to be zeroed for, people say sighted.
Sighted in.
Sighted in. It's zeroed for windage, elevation, about 12 clicks up. You'll be on there, but play with them clicks, and you're going to find out exactly where you want to be to get your point of aim, point of impact on target. If you're one of them 25-yard shooters, say I can shoot 1 inch at 25 yards, and I know there are some of you out there, that's going to be the sight for you. Now, we do have other rear sight options, don't we, Eli?
We do.
We're going to talk about them real quickly. We have a standard Novak style rear sight. If you want a square notch, you can have that. It's either blacked out or it has tritanium, is what some people have called it.
That, yeah.
Tritium, the glowy things. And we also have the Novak rear sights with adjustability for elevation. Now, you can tell by the tone of my voice, am I thrilled about these sights?
Not super thrilled.
Not super thrilled, because this ledge rear sight is like what you need if you want adjustability. You go with the Bomar style. The other ones, in my opinion, just kind of like ruin the whole look of the gun. Personally.
Well, we're pretty jaded against tritium rear sights.
Tritium, yeah. I'm not a big fan of the tritanium rear, but this ledge just is like, it's the right one to have.
Well,
or the Bomar style.
And let's be honest, the majority of Alchemy pistols will leave the factory with the battle sight.
But if you absolutely have to have it, we will do it.
We do have
because
tritium.
We love you.
We care about you
that
sometimes.
much that we will do things even if they're bad for you, in our opinion. Okay? All right.
So
moving on to front sight.
yeah, we'll talk about front sights real quick. I'm just going to give a quick rundown of the front sights. We've got your no dot. We have a no dot blacked out front sight. This is a very classic look.
It's right there on that.
Oh yeah, we got this on the charcoal blued gun.
Whew.
That's a good looking pistol.
And the reason that you'd want to do this is because it's a classic serrated with a slight ramp in the front. Like if you like that ramped look, and you're not going to go all the way back to the old school, like the giant ramp sights.
Yeah.
It's a nice in-between place to be. That's why it comes standard in the charcoal blue package, because it's super classic.
Very classic. I'm not personally a fan of them myself,
I don't mind them.
but they are very, very classic, and that's obviously a huge win.
I actually
there.
like them. Honestly, black front sight, black rear sight works great outside as long as your target's not wearing black, like in this shirt.
Yeah.
I'm real wily. I move around. You might have trouble with that, but
Well, and the next one we have is a white dot. So very simple, just white dot. This is a standard sight option for some of our pistols. So nothing really to elaborate there. If you do need a point of reference on your front sight over the black, the full black front, the white dot front is a great way to go.
now why don't we put dots on the rear side, Eli?
It's too confusing. You get too many. You get too many dots in there, and you start.
You start
It's
playing
just
tic-tac-toe with your
Yeah,
sights.
yeah.
Just line them up, get that elevation right, you're good to go. No two-dot rears.
we've definitely come a long way in the shooting community world, whatever you want to say, and that you'll see a lot of fighting pistols and defensive pistols have gone
out
away from anything on the rear
Yep.
sight. And I think that that's something once you get on it, it's hard to go back to having things on the rear side.
Well, especially with more people even teaching target focus.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you'd hear for years people say, oh, front sight focus. And in those situations, yeah, you can still sort of see the two dots on the rear and get that crisp. But if you're shooting out at 25 yards, that's just a blur.
Yeah.
So get that target focus, practice it, both eyes open, and it'll change your life.
Absolutely. And so the next thing we do have a tritium front sight, and we have this in two flavors.
Yes.
One is white and one of Duke's is orange.
Mango.
Man,
It's orange.
I mean,
Mango.
yeah, I was gonna say is Duke's of Hazzard orange,
Dukes of Hazzard. Well, it's generally.
General Lee orange. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can. Can we say that?
We can say generally.
Okay.
Like
You
it's
know,
a thing.
I
It's a
don't. I
car
don't want
that-
people to get mad at me. They're already mad at me
They're
about
already
everything
mad at
else,
you,
but I
gangster.
do love the General Lee.
Hey, man.
Anyways,
That's the horn.
this guy's my. How are you my boss?
Because you're lucky.
Yeah. So we do have this in a white ring and then a orange ring. Now,
Yes, sir.
both of those are actually great options.
I like
The tritium in the front. This is actually one of the exceptions to tritium. I do think a tritium front sight is acceptable
Yeah.
and usable.
Yes.
And I think it's even more acceptable and usable on a gun with a weapon-mounted light.
Yes, sir.
Because as we've talked about before, the idea behind tritium sights is kind of flawed in the fact that to use them, it has to be dark enough to use them, and then you don't know what you're shooting at.
Yeah.
So when you pair that with a weapon light, it makes a lot of sense because then you know what you're shooting at.
It works. I'll allow
It works. So we do have that in orange and white ring. We have potentially my favorite option.
Yep.
This is my personal gun, so
I don't know why we didn't save this one for last because we got a couple more, but this is the epitome for me.
yeah. Well, this is an extremely popular option. As many of you know, this does come standard on the Prime Elites. So this is a really popular option. It's the gold bead front sight. Great option. You may, especially if you shoot outdoors, you will notice that this is insanely bright.
Yep.
Insanely bright outdoors. Indoors, you may not notice it be as bright, but for outdoor shooting especially, it is just unbeatable, and it is an extremely, and I mean the pinnacle of class
Oh yeah.
in a 1911.
Hands down. And I don't really have problems with it indoors unless the lighting's really
Really,
atrocious.
yep.
And then you have like a black target in front of you. Maybe you'll have some issues there. But it's having a gold bead on your gun. It's like having a Rolex. The reason you get a Rolex is so you know what time it is, and so everybody else knows what time it is.
Right.
So gold beads on guns are just gangster.
Yeah, it's the most gangster front sight
Yep.
you could possibly have. Pairs really nice with our tactical battle sight, whatever you want to call the rear
U-notch,
sight, the
ACW
ACW U-notch.
Yep.
Pairs really great with that. It's a fantastic option,
Yep.
and if you're looking for just the epitome of class, that needs to be on your gun.
Yep.
The other option we have, fiber optic,
Which is interestingly controversial.
super
'Cause
controversial.
as far as usable front sights, you know, and the gold bead is, yes, usable, but it's the best, it's the most appropriate front sight for a non-red dot ACW, okay, hands down.
Yep.
But for usability, I would say the fiber optic is the best indoors, outdoors, day, low light, all that, especially paired with the fully adjustable rear. The sight picture is crisp. It's going to pick up light, reflect it right back into your eye. It's a great one. The reason it's controversial is
Just it's not classic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's okay. Like I've got it on a prime, and you know, if you have a gun that you really want to shoot fast and shoot well, that's what you do. And that's
Yeah.
the gun that's going to get just beat to hell.
Yep.
So who really cares? You know what I mean? Like,
Well, and the other thing we've talked about, I had a customer who was colorblind.
yeah.
You can change your fiber optics
Yep.
to green. You know,
Yep.
he was he couldn't see red spectrums
Yep.
very well, but he could see green. And so boom, you put a green fiber optic in
So
it.
you can get it from us in red or green.
Yep.
But you can always put new tubes in it. You just take a lighter, melt one end of it, stick the rod in, cut it, melt the other end. Boom.
And you know, it like I said, it's one of those things. It's not the most classic of looks.
But it's super usable.
Super usable. It's like putting a brand new fuel injected engine into like a 58 Oldsmobile.
I don't see anything wrong with that. Fuel injection.
It's better, right? But it's not classic. That's kind of where I'm going with. you
Yeah,
know?
I got
It's
you.
not
I got
classic, but it is essentially better.
Yes. But
Um,
it's so good that the Quantico high cap
Yes.
comes standard with the red fiber optic, because now we're talking about mixing old and new by having a high cap lower on a classic upper.
Yep.
And get you mo capacity.
Mo capacity.
And you're ready to rock and
All the
roll.
capacity.
So it comes standard with it. Now this isn't the standard configuration. This is it with a
Trijicon SRO,
yes, a
which
red
is our
dot.
favorite red dot.
That's my favorite red dot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with them.
I love it. Yeah, 2.5 MOA.
Yep.
The 6 MOA is great. The 1, you have to turn it up so bright that it just becomes 2 to 6 anyway. So, you know, 2.5 to 6 is the one. So I'm going to go. But we have it on our, let me handle this real quick. This is on our Cabot designed red dot mount that gets the dot as low and far back as possible, so that the SRO, you can put RMRs on here. You can put other dots that use the same footprint.
Don't.
It's your gun, do what you want, but it's like
I
putting
wouldn't.
Goodyears on a Ferrari.
Yeah,
Okay?
I would not.
But the SRO gets as low and far back as possible so that it's clearing the ejection port. It also allows maximum holster compatibility with the SRO. We have a blacked out serrated rear sight and then a little bit taller fiber optic front, which has created some controversy at times where people say, well, if I have a red fiber optic front, and I was in this camp maybe a few years ago too, like, well, if I have a red fiber optic front and a red dot, am I going to get confused between the two? No.
I'm
I-
never confused. I know that I'm straight.
Well, I'm not confused about that, but I'm frequently confused by things, but not a red dot with a red fiber optic. Now, if you're like, hey, I just absolutely can't have it, cut that thing out, you're good to go. Put a black fiber
yep.
optic rod, you can use Sharpie. There are many solutions that able-bodied young and old men and or women
Yes.
can do to fix said problem. If it's really a problem for you, probably isn't.
It really probably is. Most people that will claim that they have an issue with red fiber optics on red dot pistols,
They're not shooting target focus. That's
they're not
that
shooting.
much.
Right. They are, and they're probably not even shooting the gun at all.
Well,
they,
that's,
they
yeah,
just
they are
they
definitely not
just
shooting.
have this idea where they think that's an issue. I've frequently said I've got about 5,000 rounds in my Quantico high cap, and I have literally never once had an issue between the fiber optic and the red. And honestly, I forget sometimes it even has fiber optic.
Yep.
I just don't even pay
You're
attention to
using
that.
the red dot.
Yep.
Using the red dot properly, target focus, both eyes open, like you should.
Yep. So that is a very popular option. One of the most popular with Quantico high cap
Yeah,
is
high
having
cap.
the red dot.
High cap gets red dot. Like,
Yep.
I mean, you could do a Bomar if you really wanted to. Like, if you're doing like, you know, shooting USPSA limited, but now they have the limited optics division. You can shoot a high cap with optics. Why would you even do that anymore?
And the red dot is available on all of our guns.
All of our guns.
You can have
Now,
it
that
on
doesn't
any
mean
of our
You
guns.
should do it on all of them. Like if you order a charcoal blue gun
Oh,
with a red dot, we might tell you to shove that order somewhere.
it's not. It would not be advantageous for you to order that.
It's not in the drop downs, my friend.
It will not be in the drop downs.
Yeah. So
But you know, a very popular option that I'm seeing is doing a prime compact with a red dot.
hell yeah.
That's a fantastic carry gun.
yes.
Fantastic.
That is smart. Put an RMR on that.
9mm,
Ready to rock.
freaking rad.
Awesome. Hotness.
Super
All right.
gangster. Well, that is all the time we have today,
Yes.
and we are going to go grab something to eat. I am Eli. This is Nick, Millennial, Gen Z.
Yep.
We've enjoyed talking to you. If you ever need anything, don't ever hesitate to holler at us. We are 1911 people. We love talking about 1911s, and so always hit us up with any of your comments or questions. Get in the comments and tell us what your favorite sight combination is. I'd love to hear that. Love to hear what everyone likes, because it's kind of a big preference. You know, everyone's got something they like a little bit more than someone else. So with that, we're going to let you go, and just remember, always carry cocked and locked.
And never trust a man who doesn't wear a belt.
Yeah, that
just
is a weird. I've
Like,
never
why would
really
somebody
thought about
not
that.
Wear a belt?
Yeah. Anyways, we'll talk to you later.